it. Even at one point when I was working as a garbage man, I had accepted that I was probably going to be a garbage man forever.
Wow.
But I would just keep making videos and putting it out there for purely like the love of doing that. And then when it all popped off, I was like, well, I've already decided I just want to jump because I like it. So this is all just bonus now.
What's up, guys? Today's guest is a professional parkour athlete and a Red Bull sponsored athlete. Please welcome to the Jamcast, Dom Tomato. What is up, dog? This is a long time coming.
I'm so glad to be in LA. It's like, yeah, it's been, 3 or 4 years since I've been back. And just the scene's been growing, all the stuff's been happening here, and I just wanted to get over for so long. So it's really an awesome experience.
I appreciate it, man. You're one of the people that people constantly like write in the comments like, get Dom on. I'm like, you guys think I haven't asked him? I've asked him. He just isn't here in person.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, I think it's just better doing it like this where we can have a real conversation instead of over the internet where you sometimes get lag and you just don't convey the same emotion. It's just a different experience.
100%, man. And dude, I'm glad you came because I got to see that you're rocking these shoes that I want to try out. So I got to try these one of these days.
Alpha Olos, yeah, they sent me some test pairs, and I think they're fantastic.
Amazing.
And we've got some new Farang shoes coming out as well that you can sample soon.
I was going to say, I see the Fire Farang shirt too.
Oh, yes, secret. Get our next release. This is a sneak preview of that. We just did the product shoot for our upcoming sales, and we did a whole team video as well while we were in Bangkok.
So sick. And so what exactly are you over here for? Is it just for fun, for pleasure?
Yeah, basically I had a month between a project I did in Australia and the live release of that project, and I have to be home for that. And I figured do some Team Farang stuff while everyone could be in Bangkok. And then I really wanted to come to LA for a very, very long time now. So spend the next 2 weeks in LA kind of networking, meeting people, but also just hanging out with all the friends that I've made either on the internet or haven't seen since forever.
Dude,
forever.
I got to ask you, man, you touched down in Los Angeles, maybe less than a couple of hours of being here, and we already get a viral video of you trying to side flip a pool.
50 Cent shared that today, bro.
No way.
50 Cent posted it. Not even shared it, posted the video.
So you're over at Pareja House, and obviously the Megatramp was being built. So what happened, bro?
All right, well, so I get off the plane, I go to my friend Sam's place on Venice Beach. I go training on Venice Beach by myself.
Okay.
And then I go back, and then I go training on Venice Beach again with Henry Blue and Liam Norbury.
So you're 2 sessions in already.
2 sessions in. I met some kid actually down there on the first session that had a jam shirt on.
No
we did
way.
a couple of flips together and stuff.
Sick.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then, so it was, probably 6 hours, 7 hours into being here. I'd trained twice. I almost didn't go to the Pareja House because I was just like sleepy. And then my friend's like, oh, no, I'll give you a lift. We're like, we'll go. And it's the world's biggest trampoline. They invited us all to go into the world's biggest trampoline setup. And I got it there, like hugged everyone. I was having a really good day physically as well. And then Verky was there.
Yes.
So we did some stuff on the tramp. I did like one bounce. And then I just went out the backyard to like scope what else was around in this house. And there was the pool. And so Verky and I hanging out. And then we just started flipping over the spa. And we're like, oh, this is fun. And then I started doing like a bigger one from the back of the spa or over the top of it. And then we looked at the jump. We're like, obviously it was the first thing we saw, but we were like, nah, we're not going to do that. I'd say it's like 14 or 15 foot across this pool, and you have a horrible run up.
That's what I heard. I heard the run up is very shallow. It's weird.
Shallow,
missteps.
curvy, and you have to kind of step like, like when there's rocks on the floor and like planter beds that you have to kind of avoid the corner of. So you're kind of like wiggly running up towards it. And all the preps we were doing, like we both do the running jump. You can see in Travis's vlog, we both do the running jump. I barely made it. My heels actually like there's a little bloop.
That's what I had heard before I saw the video.
And I was just excited, and more people were coming, and I just kind of started feeling like, oh, it's LA. I'm excited. My body feels good. And so during the preps of the run up, there was 6 steps. There's like a good solid 6 steps. And for some reason, when I've been prepping with 6 steps, and then when I did the side flip, I just took like maybe another step and a half forwards and just did like 4 and a bit small steps. Way less steps than I should have done.
Oh, shit.
And I just didn't quite dive enough because I had a bit of a shallow takeoff. And then, I thought like when I was doing it, I could feel like, oh, I'm going to have to pike for it. But I still thought I had the distance. And then just my big toes clipped. And I think like luckily the deceleration of the water as it got up to my thigh, that's where I first made contact. And then it kind of brandished in and like bruised out a little bit there. And that's where the impact mark is. But it's been a week now, and I'm back doing jumps today, like precisions and stuff.
So you're all good, all things considered.
Yeah. It was a relatively minor injury for the chaos that was there. Could have been ribs, could have been hips, could have been anything worse. But I managed to kind of, in that moment, turn away, and my head comes slamming down. But fortunately, my hand was in the... My hand, I don't know.
Save yourself.
Yeah, my hand was in the way of the ground, so I like touched my nose or my hand.
No way. So all things considered, just a leg bruise.
Yeah, just a massive dead leg.
Did everyone freak out around you, or like, did you what was going through your head? Like, because clearly you probably thought you were gonna make it, right?
Yeah. So I hit the water, and then I was instantly like, when I say I'm fine coming out of challenges like that, it's not like I'm not hurt. It's I'm okay. Like I'm physically fine. You don't need to. I haven't smashed anything.
Don't call the ambulance. Like
We're good. I've just bruised, or like it's okay.
Okay.
And I'm more so reaffirming to everyone that's there, like, don't freak out.
Yeah,
I'm okay. I'm smiling. We're good. And then I got up, and then I was like, oh, I definitely clocked my leg. And then I was like walking around the pool. People are like trying to show me the clip and stuff, and I'm just like, it's just getting progressively worse. Then I took some like ibuprofen, sat down with my leg elevated. There was somebody there who was studying like sports physiology or something like that, and she was moving my leg around and checking it out, and she made sure that like I think she worked as an EMT as well, and she said like it doesn't look like there's anything severe done. Wow. It just looks like everything's really pissed off.
Man of Steel. Dude, we always joke about it on the Jam Breakdown whenever you bail. We're like, that would have killed a lesser man, but Dom got up and walked away from it.
Yeah, I think it's not so much only being robust as like just having experience falling over.
Yes.
So in that moment where it's all happening, it's being able to figure out like, how do I dissipate this in the nicest way possible? Like there's a really big Kong front pre last year where I went off the front of the wall.
Yes.
And it's like a head height dive roll down, but my body just flexed. It just went, that's what I need to do. It's so instinctful because of all the years of practice of not being very good. like, you know, it took me a while to get that like consistency and progression there. So there's a lot of practice falling over.
Dude, so I mean, I got to ask just while we're on the topic right now, what is your worst bail to date? Is there one that stands out in your mind of all the things you've attempted?
The China fail is definitely the one. Like there's a race in China. I fell down Tianmenshia and like 6 meters onto my face, fractured my skull, crushed and dislocated my wrist, which is still like weaker to this day. Like it hasn't ever fully come back all the way. But that was the worst injury. Like, but I was training after 7 days.
Again, still?
So yeah, it was one of those things where I just went to my friend's house and like hibernated for, I think I did the surgery and then I was 6 days basically just sitting on his couch watching TV.
Wow.
And then I got up and instantly was like the apes jump off was the next week. I just went to the event, started jumping around, started flipping with a cast on.
And what happened on that? Was it just a miscalculation because of how quick you were going? That you just had a misstep, or? Yeah,
so it was a bunch of factors. The main one being I just kind of got distracted. I remember being there and being like, I'm ahead of everybody else in the time thing, and like, wow, look how cool it is with all of you and all these people. No. Like it was only like a 0.5 seconds of distraction, but that was enough for me to just be like, well, I wasn't watching where I was going. I was looking forward, and I just started dropping down.
No way.
Yeah.
Do you remember yelling, "I'm okay" on that one too, or were you messed up?
No. So I hit the floor and I got up and was like, okay, I need to finish the race, and then like the rest of the pain and everything set in. So it was like land, roll over, and I get on my hands and knees, and I think the pain in my wrist would have set in as well, and I just go. Oh, I just like laid back down on my back, and then the crowd of people ran over and stuff.
No way.
The one thing I did say was like, I was walking away and I was like, I think I broke my wrist.
I do. I've seen that in a video. Yeah, I've seen that in a vlog.
Maybe. Well, I didn't break it. It only crushed and dislocated. So
no way.
Yeah, I still haven't broken anything doing parkour.
So obviously, that's your worst bail. Was that your worst injury as well, or have you had anything worse?
I think the Leon 25 where I fractured my cuboid, because it was just like a small. I landed. This is something most people don't know, is that when I jumped in the air, my shoe came off because I hadn't tied it up. And I landed on the side of my shoe like that.
No way.
Yeah, so my heel, like this raw heel, touched the concrete
floor. Hit the concrete from that.
And bent over the side of the sole of the shoe. And so like only from that did I fracture my cuboid. So
no way.
That one took me out for like 3 months of training. And I'd say the ankle misalignment I did last year has been affecting me for like 4 to 6 months now.
No way. way.
I did like, double front gap, sat down on it, and my ankle kind of just shifted to one side.
Yeah.
And stupidly, I didn't get it seen to for like a month because I was in Spain. I thought it'll get better, and then it didn't. And then it's just been kind of pestering ever since. It's probably like 80 strength, 80% now.
But all things considered, like have you had any major reconstructive surgeries? Or
No, I've been really lucky, man. Like it just, like I haven't done any ACL, MCL ruptures, fucking things that I've needed surgery for.
Totally.
Just the wrist, and that's okay.
And obviously, I'm not trying to jinx you by any means, but the only reason I bring that up is from an outsider perspective. Fuck it, even from an insider perspective, someone that's done the sport, the things that you do just are on a very different level than the average practitioner does, where they're at a higher height, a bigger distance, takes a little bit more balls. And so, it's crazy to hear that you haven't sustained a major injury as a result of that. And,
the longest I've ever taken off was the foot with 3 months in the last decade. I have a little like running tally going of I don't think I'm one of the best free runners. I think there's way more skilled athletes out there than me when it comes to variety of free running strengths, and if you look at it as a skill tree. But I don't know if anybody's practiced more parkour than myself or Mark Ashigaru in the last 10 years.
Wow.
Because like, other than injury sustained, I've never taken more than like a couple of days off.
Yeah.
Just it itches at me if I do. So it's like hours applied to the sport. I've just been invested in it for so long with so much of my time. That's why I feel like the confidence is really high, is just because you're out there so much, you're building information all the time. You're consistently like progressing and growing those things.
And do you credit the impact in your body being able to sustain this stuff as a result of that training, or do you do any cross training outside of it in order to further strengthen your body?
I think there's a combination of genetics that play into like I have big robust joints, and I've always had like lean towards impact as far as style wise. It hasn't been something that I found difficult when I first started. I was doing big front flips off stuff.
Yeah.
But I also think it's a big thing is that I did professional sport like figure skating growing up.
Totally.
Falling on the ice. And I learned from my mother recently that we also learned how to fall over.
Ooh,
so
on the ice.
On the ice, because you've got blades on your feet, they need to teach you how to fall over properly and safely without hurting yourself and all those sort of things. So it's ingrained into me subconsciously before I even remember to fall over and how to do that safely.
And so was that your first like organized sport that you did for a long time? And how old were you when you started that?
Yeah, so I did, I was on rollerblades since I could walk.
Okay.
And then I went to ice skating when I was like 3.
Wow.
My sister was 2 years older than me. She was really into it. Okay. She ended up being like a world competitive athlete.
Crazy.
But yeah, I just followed her, and then I did speed skating for a little while.
Nice.
And that's where I found out that I had genetically strong ankles, because at the age of 4, I could stand in the skates without swaying one side or the other. And that's apparently rare. That's what I've been told. I did speed skating for a couple of years, then got into figure skating. And then when I was 8, I started taking it seriously. Okay. Like my sister went to the national championships and she came home, and I guess she was just getting all the attention. So I like said to mum when she was talking to me, like, I'm going to go and win next year. And then I did. Yes. When I was like 9 years old, I ended up like winning the Australian championships for ice skating. Wow. And then that kind of set off like the next 3 to 5 years were very intense in the ice skating world, because both my sister and I were competing and achieving at a high level.
And so what was the highest skill that you got up to at that point? Was it like number of rotational spins? Was that the most difficult thing you did, or what was?
So I could very inconsistently land 1 or 2 triple jumps.
Okay.
But the guys who are in the Olympics are doing quads, for reference. My sister could do all of her triples. Wow. But not a triple axel, which is like 3.5 rotations.
Totally.
As opposed to 3. And I feel like axles has ruined my corks forever. Because a figure skating axle is like a cork, but you stay
vertical.
Vertical. And just, every time I've tried corks, it's just been so difficult. I need to fix them. After like 15 years.
On the other hand, is there anything that you think you took away from figure skating that has helped your style at all in parkour?
Not only style, but I think training methodology and knowing how much application of self it takes to progress and to really get good at something. It's a hard path. You have to really apply yourself. You can't just faff around.
Yeah.
It takes a little bit of structure and a little bit of understanding of your body and its limits, which I think I learned from doing sport full time at a young age. That's one of the things that I notice when I'm hanging out with other athletes who don't have a sportive background, and there's a lot of subconscious information I have stretching, recovery, how to train, how to present it. Because I also did performing arts at high school from the age of 13 to 17.
Okay.
And they very much taught us about how to, frame things, sell things. I did like film and TV, so I had a little bit of experience working in those facets of media as well.
Yeah, it's super rare in the sense that like right now we're finally probably getting to the first generation of kids where parkour could be their first sport they've ever done.
Yes.
But in my personal opinion, a lot of the old school guys all had other sports or martial arts that they came from, whether it was Ilabaka, Ryan Doyle doing like wushu and stuff before. Even someone like Bailey that's transitioning to the sport was a high level competitive cheerleader and tricker first.
Yeah.
And so
Anand Anwar was like a wakeboarder.
Yep.
It's very rare. I think Jason Paul actually is one of the first gen where parkour was his first like actual sport
Major
where
sport.
he dedicated time to it. Just said he played video games before that.
Crazy.
And same with Pasha. They're
Yes,
just like true blood, full on parkour people from day one. They're just born and they're like, this is the thing.
Yeah. Pasha's also Russian, so like.
Yeah. He said there wasn't very much else to do when he was in Latvia. You know what I mean? It's just like that's what you get. You've got grass and walls, or
Totally.
go at home and sit on the couch.
So how did you stumble upon the sport of parkour? What was your first exposure to it?
So I was looking up ninja videos on the internet. I'd seen on Punch Robert, a guy called Robert Hoffman.
Yes,
He's a dancer.
I know him from LA.
Yeah. So he has a video called Urban Ninja.
Yes, he does.
And I thought that was hilarious. And I love like the fact that I'd seen him in like Step Up and all these other films. And like from there was another video called Urban Ninja. Now, I don't know who this guy is.
Zin, he's one of my friends who I've actually worked on video games with for years.
Okay, because like I haven't seen anything else from him since. Me and my friend were talking about it the other day, and we're like, that must have just launched his career, and then he didn't need to do social media from there on out. But that video led me to then the Russian Oleg Climber video, where it said parkour, and I was like, oh, the name for the thing.
Totally.
And I went out in my lunch break at school. I showed one of my friends. I'm like, let's go try this. And we just started like jumping over school tables and stuff like that. That was the first like set for it.
Well, dude, I'm so glad you called out that because I'm going to use this and clip it and send it to Zin. I've been hounding him for 3 years to get on the Jamcast.
Make more media, man.
And
I mean, you're literally the first person that got me like properly insight into parkour, because running around shopping malls is something I did as a kid, but then he had made that like a proper actual spectacle and using skill with it. So I was just super inspired by that.
Yeah, that first video is so iconic for anyone from our generation.
Yeah.
Like I remember everything to taking the sweatshirt off to like all the stuff in the mall running across.
Even the finale where he jumps off the roof and then has like the end. He's like, call me.
So what happened to him was he actually then became like a stuntman out here. He was part of a group called EMC Monkeys. They shoot a lot of independent films. He worked on a bunch of video games alongside myself. And now, for lack of a better term, he's just completely off grid, just living life and training. Yeah, being happy. Yeah.
Doing movement and just being happy. Yeah. I mean, that feels like there's a lot of athletes who I think really want to make it professional. And at the end of the day, they kind of forget like the good part of it is jumping around. Yes, if you just have like a nice life and you get to jump around in your spare time, that's still amazing.
Yes.
The freedom you get through movement doesn't necessarily need to be this overwhelming, because like you can lose the infatuation and love for it if it becomes your whole obsession and you're trying to make a living with it. Then it's less engaging. It's less like fond.
Yeah, and that's crazy to hear from someone who's made a profession out of it. But it's a good reminder for all these kids up and coming who probably have very, very like limited, narrow visions of what they want to do with their life. It's good for them to hear that.
Yeah, well, I mean, I like kind of blindly found my way into this career. I was just trying to do anything to make parkour a living. I was coaching, I was doing all the regular facets that people pursue. I just found that Instagram clicked for me, and I was also, I say I'm lucky, but I think it's just persistence really is the key. Like I just kept trying to do it. Even at one point when I was working as a garbage man, I had accepted that I was probably going to be a garbage man forever. Wow. But I would just keep making videos and putting it out there for purely like the love of doing that. And then when it all popped off, I was like, well, I've already decided I just want to jump because I like it. So this is all just bonus now.
Just a plus, yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah,
so how old were you when you stumbled upon that first video in parkour? And did you start training religiously every day, or were you still figure skating at the time and having to balance both,
I was 15.
Okay.
And it quickly basically just grew into every other part of my life. Like I started learning to backflip on ice skates after. And so I was still ice skating and still going to performing arts high school. But then in the summer holidays, it was every day with my friends learning how to flip, doing like, cat passes, whatever we could find. a lot of the early guys I trained with don't train anymore. They just kind of got into it because flips were cool.
Okay.
And then we tried to get more into the parkour stuff, but they weren't really on it. And then I met the community and after like a year and a half and started hanging out with them.
Okay.
Sydney Parkour, woohoo, baby.
No way. And so did you, obviously getting to a level that you did in figure skating and obviously having a family that's involved in it with your sister, did you make a conscious decision to walk away from the sport, or what was it that eventually led to you going from that into parkour?
So when I was 13, my parents split up, and it was kind of like gray area around my ice skating coach and my dad being involved. So I kind of lost a little bit of love for the sport.
Wow.
Moved to Sydney with my mum, started going to Performing Arts High School, and then we were living next to the ice rink. So I was there every day. I knew all the people. So I started getting back into ice skating, but I was doing more dance and pairs ice skating.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Like ice dance is kind of like ballroom
Totally.
on ice, and pairs is where you get to do all the fun, fancy throws and lifts. And then I kind of just dabbled and played with it, didn't take it seriously for a couple of years. And then 17, I got a partner who was Japanese, like really, really high level figure skater living in Australia. These Russian ice skating coaches that we had were super like on board to try and push us to go, because I didn't quite have the chops to make it as like a Olympic level solo skater because of my jumps and my tech wasn't quite there. But as a male pair skater, because you need to do synchronized jumps, the level's not as high. So you can kind of get away with slightly lower power, like, high level of rotation stuff. So yeah, then I was doing that with her for probably like 9 to 12 months full time. Okay. And then I one morning dropped her and broke her leg, and then I just quit ice skating forever. I mean, there's a lot more to it than that.
I was going to say, there's got to be.
But that was the catalyst. I remember just feeling like I didn't want to be responsible for somebody else's body like that. Because it was like an accident. I tripped over, dropped, like she was coming down towards the ice. So I had to dive underneath her, and her leg just came down wrong. And I don't want to be responsible for another person's safety like that when I'm already super irresponsible with my own.
Yeah.
And then also I just found that the world of ice skating itself was so nitpicky, bitchy, kind of trying to like climb all over each other and political. And I always hated that. I watched it kind of chip away at my sister's personality because she was at a very high level. So it's just constantly grinding away, like modeling or gymnastics or any of those industries. And so when I found parkour when I was like 15, that's what kind of slowly pulled me away from ice skating. Is there's this amazing sport where there is no tangible finish line. You don't have to go to the Olympics. You don't have to do this. You can seemingly do it forever because there is no set way. In traditional sports, when you get to 26, you're done.
Yep.
That's it. When you get 28, you're
done.
Then
you coach.
And then you coach. Yeah. And I don't want to do that. I still feel like I'm in my prime now and I'm about to turn 30. So it's one of those things where the sport itself and all the, like, I love the act of ice skating. I love being out there. I love moving. But then the political side of the sport and the actual competitive side of the sport just left not an amazing taste in my mouth with what it was. It's just not,
Yeah. I mean, you may have just answered it just based on that explanation right there about the political side of it. But is there ever a part of you that misses any aspect of competing in ice skating, or was there anything you wish that you had accomplished?
No.
Okay.
I mean, I don't really live life through that scope, but at the same time, like, I went to a bunch of Australian championships. I got to go to an international comp. It was really fun. But I never wanted to be an Olympic ice skater. I really wanted to be a show skater.
Yeah.
Live
show stuff.
Yeah. Doing like Disney on Ice and that sort of thing.
Yes.
And like I learned how to backflip on the ice. So I'm happy with that.
And
like,
so
I love going back and doing it for fun.
I was going to ask, do you ever just put on skates for fun? And
I had my own pair until 2000 and like maybe 13 or 14. Okay. And then ever since it's been rental skates. But I can still do like all my doubles and a couple of other things in rental skates. So yeah, I like the act of ice skating. I love doing it. I did it for 15 years. It's so ingrained into who I am as a person.
Totally.
Yeah.
And so comparatively, when you were figure skating at that high level, how many days per week and hours were you training? And then how many days per week and hours were you training in parkour when you started?
Basically the same.
Okay.
I learned how to do my 6-day to 7-day regiment from ice skating from an early age. So we would wake up 5:30, go to the ice rink before school, and then get picked up even sometimes early from school, and then skate till like 8:30 p.m. with an off-ice session after.
Yeah.
Obviously there's little breaks in the middle, but it's just like a constant go. And then we do that 6 days a week. and then we do cross country running on Sundays as a family.
Jesus.
So I just learned how to go. One of the things I had to learn as an adult is how to like take a day off and not stress out about that.
Yes. Yeah. 100%.
It's okay to just not do anything.
Yeah.
For 12 hours.
That's crazy.
It's okay.
And so, like, obviously, you mentioned like the dynamic within your family when you moved with your mom. But were your parents supportive of this transition into this new sport, especially because
100%.
Okay.
Yeah. My mom's like my guiding star. She's always like been my number one supporter. And we're cut from the same cloth. And she when I remember when I was first started doing it, she said, "Oh, I used to ride like FMX stuff when I was 19, so I can't say anything."
Cool.
I was like, cool.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah. And she just doesn't like seeing me fall or get hit. Like she's been really in contact about the fall since has a leg, has the updates, blah, blah, blah. Because she comes from a sports rehab background as well.
Okay.
She did like personal training, specializing in sports recovery and stuff like that. So her whole world is like, don't get hurt. And I hope you're okay.
100%. And so obviously, like right now, as we mentioned, we're at a point where the new generation, some of them, this is their first sport. Some of these kids get to try parkour for the first time in a parkour class.
Yeah.
What was the scene like when you were back then? What was the community like? Were you training with anyone besides your friends that have since quit, you know? Like
for the first year and a half, I was just finding anybody, like people that did ice skating or people that lived on my street in Australia. I'd just be like, yo, I'm doing parkour.
This?
You want to learn? Yeah, come to the park. I'll teach you how to backflip. And then I just like get them invested and like really like, I think that's where I learned how to hype people up for it externally is because I spent the first year and a half being like, come do it with
being
me.
a parkour salesman.
Yeah. We'll knock on people's door. Hey, have you heard about parkour? Heard the word?
Yes.
And then I met the Sydney parkour community.
Okay.
Like I was going to the gymnastics center and they were going and I got invited down to classes. And this is how early in the game it was. I did 2 classes. They invited me to be an instructor and do instructor training.
Yes.
And then we were all, as instructors, breaking down a stride. The best way to do
in
technique
classes
of a stride.
Yeah.
Like, no, but like learning as instructors before we taught people. Like
totally. How to teach this.
It's like we're watching Phil Doyle be like, okay, this is how he does it. And then we have to figure out he's so efficient that way. Like this is how early in the game, there wasn't like standardized techniques. You couldn't come in and everything was just there for you. A stride was new.
Yeah.
Like
100%.
Now we see like all sorts of variations of techniques and it's all kind of, figured out and people can learn and skill hack a lot faster.
Yeah,
but when I started, it was very sparse. Parkour was very much like run, vault, run, vault, run, precision.
100%.
Yeah.
And so I got to ask this because of right now, you're obviously someone that everyone tends to watch. Who did you grow up watching?
So Daniel Abaka is my number one.
Of course.
Danny.
Gotta praise Danny.
Yeah. I spent last year just put like a bunch of sessions trying to relive being Danny, like
Wow.
going and doing the reverse arm he does in Cambridge and the Congainer in Leeds at the first Congainer spot. All hail Danny.
Onto the
Other than that, so American-wise, Ryan Ford and Paul Whitecotton were 2 of the first people I watched.
Demon and Ninja Boy, yep.
Yep. Bjarke Helden.
Wow, of course.
Yeah,
Shout
so
out Helden.
708 sampler.
Yeah.
And then Scott Jackson.
Okay.
He is someone I watched a lot.
No one knows who these names are. If they're in the new generation, no one knows who any of these
Scott
guys
Jackson, for all of you, he's basically the parkour father of Max Barker, Luke Stones.
Yes.
And he has like a bit of influence on Verkey. He's like one of the grandfathers of technique.
Mm-hmm.
And he was doing flip prees before anybody else.
Yeah.
And then, over the years I had like Pasha, Zulev, Renat, and Vlad, all from Russia, who were
Totally.
Paveway, Shade.
Yes.
Shade's lad. Oh, mate.
Legend.
And I love
Still
that
a
a
good
lot of
scene
these
movie.
guys are still just slapping it out there.
Dude, I still watch Helden clips sometimes. I'm like, what are you doing? You're so crazy still.
Yeah. He just changed fast. It's like, I'll just go from jumping onto bars and just boom, explode.
I'll be nasty.
I'm super talented in all ways.
Yes. 100.
And nowadays, I think it's more of the younger guys like Joel Larson, Ellis, Verkey.
Yeah.
I always take inspiration from Joe.
Yes.
But I love athletes that move like I can't. Like Archie was my favorite in 2019 because there's no way I can do that. I just have such respect for the way that they can accentuate the moves and really like sell that style.
Totally.
I'm like a bit like lanky man out here.
I mean, for the longest time, I feel like for the longest time, especially like back when I was getting into the sport way long ago too, I feel like most people associated where you're from with Sean Wood. Did you get
Sean Wood?
Yeah.
He's another massive mentor of mine. Like,
Okay.
I'd say I didn't watch him as much because I was there.
That's what I was
able to
asking. If
train
you got
with
to train with him, right? Yeah. Okay.
So he's someone who showed like support for me from an early stage. I think it was like 2009. We met a couple of times, and then he invited me to go stay at his place. We made this video, same but different. It was a really cool like Aussie video, and he also like advocated to me about coming and joining Team Farang originally.
Okay, perfect transition, Dom. Thank you for that.
Oh, cool. Well, so
beautiful transition.
Yeah, he was the one that kind of set the tone. So he invited me over. The original idea was a bunch of us were going to make a documentary similar to Supertramps as the first Farang video. But then as the months unfolded, I was going out every night and partying because Anand had like the hookup for the model parties, and I was like 19 and like, we can party with models. And so I was just being irresponsible, drinking too much, not like being moody, not showing up for shoots like in a good. I was showing up, but just not in like a good, like frazzled and hungover and all sorts of things. So I didn't join the team at that time, but Sean had invited me over with the premise of me being on the team.
Okay.
So I was a little bit sour, like when I first left, but then I took a bit of self-reflection, realized I wouldn't have wanted to be on a team with me at that stage anyway. I was all over the place. You need to have clear direction, or at least some guidelines and structure in place. Yeah. Otherwise it all just tends to go off.
And so how did you finally get and reunited and I guess become a part of it?
So I went home, partied for another couple of months before realizing, what the hell am I doing?
Okay.
I went to the Australian National Gathering, and I rocked up like fadey haircut, 2 earrings, like tight, long, tall tee, tight like jeggings that I was passing as jeans. I looked at everyone, I was like, what am I doing? Called my friend Marks, and I was like, hey man, can you bring me trackies? And he brought me trackies to the jam, and then I basically moved in with him, started the Team 420, which became Crew 42, and was just working as a garbage man full time in the mornings and trying to make parkour work in the afternoons. That was the whole, like all of us were just fully invested in that journey and trying to make parkour into a livable career. We were doing shows, Jump Squad, the first gym that we had in Sydney, they opened up and they were giving us a bunch of work through their connections. But the real game changer for me was I got myself a ticket to For the Love of Movement.
Yes.
Which they... it was like a silver wildcard ticket. So we had to pay for our own flights, but they put us up the whole time we were there, which amazing, because that was the first leg into the international community. I showed face there, kept posting on social media and Instagram from there on out till the next Art of Motion.
Yep.
And then I went to Singapore, which is where I first really reconnected with Farang. There's like a video where I'm doing some stuff with them at Lion City Gathering.
Yes, yeah, totally.
And that's where the vibe was kind of clicking back over, and it was like they were saying, oh, like, you're doing good stuff, we want to send you clothes, be more supportive, and Jason was putting me all over his social media. And then that year unfolded into a bunch of jobs in China, For the Love of Movement again, and then Art of Motion. And at Art of Motion, they like said, hey, next year, do you want to come and do a job with us for Bounce and potentially like look at coming onto the team, or like, not like they hadn't made that explicit, but it was kind of inferred, like, come hang out with us for a month, we'll shoot a video for Farang, we'll shoot this job, see where things go. Because at the time, and even in the future, Farang kind of just hangs out with athletes and tests the water and see if we can move things forwards, if it's possible to kind of progress that relationship. And then, Sean called me because he'd just had his falling out with the team. Falling out with the team, and kind of clued me in that they would be looking for someone new to bring on as well. And that he instantly was like, you have my full support. Like, sick. I want you to do the best. And he also was working with Bounce since then and got me a bunch of work over the next few years for Bounce as well.
No way. Okay.
So he's been like a mad hookup as far as like keeping me professionally afloat.
Yeah, totally.
And then, so I went to Art of Motion. They asked about would I like to come over. I went and did the Bounce job with them, which was with Pasha, Jason, Sheva, and Anand.
Yeah.
And that really felt like it was the start of like the unity there. They said like that they were very impressed with what I'd been putting out and how I'd been performing over the last 2 years, and they wanted to support that. I just obviously was on board, and I kind of knew what the Farang motif and style and culture and brand was about because I'd been there when we had been building the brand. But so 2016, I came on board early 2016.
Okay.
And we shot a video, Concrete Kingdom, me and Jason. It was a very, very fun experience, and definitely like felt like I was part of the team straight off the get-go.
Okay.
And then, yeah, we've kind of, the last, like it got built up in steam over like till 2018, 19. And then with COVID, we kind of lost a lot of pace because we couldn't meet up. We couldn't get our Farang jams. We couldn't get together even to shoot content. And so things kind of just took a little bit of a slowed pace. But this year, we're back. We have a lot of motivation as a squad to kind of revamp the system and even maybe bring on additional team members.
Wow.
And yeah, just kind of get the whole motor reworking, because it's such a staple brand in the parkour community. It's got rhetoric, it's got trust with the audience of like quality of merchandise, quality of clothing, quality of product. And like still the athletes that we have on our ranks, like Jason and Anan are top performers. Volturi is an amazing athlete. So we still have that there. We just need to get some cohesiveness and direction as a brand, which we've been internally discussing and pushing for. And so you should see a lot more action from Team Farang this year. Okay. So I got the tattoo to kind of just like
there you go.
Commit.
Yes. I mean, one thing that's unique about your team is that a lot of times the brand becomes a bigger platform than its individual members. But in your guys' sake, there's some
we're the dream team, baby.
There's some individual members that have bigger platforms than the team.
That's it. That's what I think the MO is for Farang, is we're the dream team. We're not a bunch of close friends from the start of parkour.
Yes.
We have all these athletes that have built our own acclaim over the years by one together as Farang, but two in our own staple worlds. And I think it's nice to have such juxtaposition in style, flavor, and big names. Like Jason is this huge entity, but I would never be as crisp and perfect and well polished as Jason. And then Pasha is like this other side of things, creatively, movement wise, which then I contrast entirely, like non-creative, big stuff. So I think there's a really nice mix for the team, and hopefully we can get the attention and the juices flowing back the spotlight that way.
And so the other $1 million question that I'm sure everyone wants to hear about, if they don't know your story already, is how do you officially become under the Red Bull platform and umbrella and become a sponsored athlete for them?
The way I went about it was going to Red Bull Art of Motion competitions, getting my name out there in the biggest platform for our sport with Red Bull attached to it. Then from there, it was also like the first point of contact was 2014, but I didn't get sponsored to 2017. So there was 3 years of me just not knowing like if that was a possibility, and even at one point believing it wasn't and looking elsewhere, because I just thought that I wasn't winning any of the Red Bull competitions. I wasn't at that level, even though my social media was blossoming.
Totally.
I didn't know if that was a facet that they were willing to take on. But after 3 years of not hiring any parkour athletes, I was the first one back on the ranks there. And yeah, I think that it's been a really good flourish ever since, of having more countries pick up their own individual parkour athletes.
Yeah.
Like we've got Archie, Hazal, Christian Kolowensky, Noah,
yeah.
Who else is? I'm just trying to think. Otto DK is still sponsored. Pasha's still sponsored. So there's we've still got this really good rank of Red Bull athletes now who represent the sport.
Amazing. And so is that the point at which you made the transition to make parkour a professional full-time career?
No, I actually made the shift in 2015.
Wow. Okay.
So APES, Australian Academy of Parkour Exercise and Self-Defense in Australia, they were the first ones to give me that shot. JP, the owner there, he said, in the meeting I came to him and I said, hey, I want to be sponsored by Red Bull. I think I have a shot, but I need to take parkour full time. Would you be willing to pay me my rent per week and I'll make the rest work? And they did that. And then, 3 years later, I got sponsored by Red Bull.
No way.
But they were the ones that enabled me to take that leap. And that's why I'd never take them off my Instagram bio and stuff. They're I wouldn't be anywhere without the opportunity that APES gave me. And even just the support I got from the Sydney parkour community and the global community, that's how I'm here. It's not anything that I've done singularly, or I didn't create it all by myself. It's all the support from the amazing people in the community.
100%. Yeah. And so I've always wanted to ask you this, because I would be at Art of Motion as an MC or on the live broadcast, one or the other.
We did my first, I was up with Frosty. I think maybe we did one of my first interviews in 2014.
May have been me back then. Yeah, because I eventually passed the torch off to Frosty because I couldn't keep turning down stuntwork.
I think it was 2014, and I injured my shoulder, and you brought me out live on the thing, and we did an interview. So. Yeah, and that was the first time that I got eyes from Red Bull Australia on me, was during that event.
Crazy.
The response I got from the Greek team and what they said to Australia led to the eventual relationship. Yeah.
So don't take this in the wrong way. I've just always wanted to ask you this because obviously I've been at these competitions and it's not like you've actually won one of the Art of Motions before.
I've never won a parkour competition ever.
So what motivates you to still go to these on-site qualifiers and try to make it and just show up and throw down knowing that you may not have the chance to win with your reputation on the line?
Inclusiveness. I just want to be involved. I don't care if I make it or not, but if I'm there, I'm going to give it a go.
Sick.
And it's panned out every year since. And then this year I got invited for the first time. No more on-sites. Oh, baby, it's such a good feeling. 7 years of slugging away. Like, never made it through the video qualifiers.
Totally.
Always had to show up. Always had to on-site qualifier. And then the last time I competed, I did the on-sites. Didn't qualify. Qualified as a reserve. And then Stefan had to drop out. And I was like, oh, no, I'm back in the fold. Like, I was out partying, having a good time. I was like, I've done it. I'm out of the game.
Yes.
Well, but yeah, we're back. And this year, Art of Motion's been revamped. It's on June 5th to 8th to 12th, I think.
Yes, 8th to 12th, I think it is.
12th.
Yeah. In a new location, new island, new spot.
We just had a call about it the other day. It's going to be sick. There's a new format for the competition and everything. So, whole reboot, which I think, without spoiling anything, I think what this new format does is it keeps the truisms of our sport alive. Instead of kind of cultivating a one direction with it, we get to open that spectrum up a little bit more and see a broad thing to it.
Amazing. And so honestly, your motivation has just been wanting to be a part of any kind of parkour event, I guess.
Yeah, I just want to spread the gospel of parkour. Like, that's my whole shtick. I'm like, so parkour has been super helpful for me as a person, growth, development, all those things. And I just hope that if I can get anyone involved and they can get a gleam of that lifestyle, insight, or progression mindset from parkour, then I'm happy. That's all. I just want to spread the good things about parkour and hope that people can learn from it.
Oh yeah. So clearly you don't feel the pressure of having to podium or win at these competitions. Outside of that, though, do you ever feel the pressure to continue to one-up yourself based on the things that you do?
No, and there's actually something I wanted to bring up with you as well, because for me, I saw a Jamcast and you were like, you got to get out there and do it for the likes. For me, Instagram doesn't matter. Yes. I don't really take any weight in what I do with the clips. I just post what I do.
Yes.
If I happen to slug it out for 6 weeks in a row, I slug it out for 6 weeks in a row. It's crazy shit. If not, it's not. It's the training's very personal in its journey for me, and I kind of treat everything in monthly and yearly cycles. So you'll notice this year I haven't been hitting it quite as hard. I haven't been sending it as hard. I had a couple of injuries at the start of the year, and then I decided that I wasn't going to take this year. So last year's my personally best year I've had as far as progression and the happiest I am with my training. Yeah. Before that was 2018. I was trying to beat 2018 last year. Okay. So this year I'm taking a year off. You can have Athlete of the Year, Verky. You can have it. And then next year I would plan to turn it back on.
You'll be back.
And really switch up like the progression and stuff. But this year's about building a nice base of strength, touching on all of the techniques, and also just getting all of the little body inconsistencies gone, so that when I do hit it hard, there's no inconsistencies or imbalances.
And so when you turn it back on, how do you find these challenges that continuously blow everyone's minds from the outside? Like, I remember when you talk about the IMAX jump in the vlog, you talk about how it's been on your mind for like a calendar year. Are there spots in your mind right now? You don't have to talk about them, but are there spots in your mind right now of things you want to accomplish?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's still stuff I want to do at IMAX. Okay. There's still a few jumps. Like I part of me wants to go back and do Leon 25.
Really?
Yeah.
Just to not get injured when you do it?
Yeah, just to do it right.
Okay.
I think I still have the capacity as a human to pull that off. Maybe Vortex, but I think that'd be being stupid.
Lord of mercy.
But like I do have goals. And for me, it doesn't matter if, like, I saw, when the double side flip over Manpower happened, a lot of people were just like, well, it's done now. It's like, you still don't want to do that yourself? Like, if someone else has done something, that doesn't mean I don't want to do it. I very much just, like the side to side that Sibe just did at IMAX, I'd love to get that. That's something, just doesn't matter if it's been done or not. It's just, there's heaps of stuff that's on my list. And because it's a never ending cycle of things with parkour, there's so many locations and variations to hit. I don't know. I call that phase hunting.
Yeah.
And it's like you do lots of training and you kind of accumulate your skill over the years, but then what do we do with that? I mean, some athletes compete, but as you've said, I'm not a competitive athlete. That's not where I shine. So I choose to take that time and energy and focus that I would use into like a competitive stage in my own training. And I really go out and I look for something that's going to be physically and mentally a push, a little bit of a journey. And then I'll do the math, as I say. I just kind of make sure I do all my checks and balances for that thing, spend 5-10 minutes getting in the state of mind, getting the body ready and sparking for that, and then just send it, just run it.
After you stomp your feet.
Yeah. Stomp your 3, say usually all right, and then 3, 2, 1. It's if you listen, like if you lined up 100 videos, it's the same soundbite.
It's a routine, yeah.
It's funny how habitual it is, and it just, I know if I do that, I'm safe. You know what I mean? Like sometimes I'll even do it softer to myself before a smaller challenge, but it's still, I know I'm doing it then. It kind of just is just ingrained now.
Do you ever get nervous?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm not crazy. I think Joe put it really well once, was that there is fear involved. It's just, that's how you know whether something is, you're capable of doing something or not, is whether you can control that fear. Like we're not being brave as much as we're just overcoming our own small issues. Like if you're at the top of a jump and you're thinking about all the things that can go wrong, you're not in the right state of mind to do it.
Totally.
And it's also like, depending on the tracer, I don't like to have the whole picture filled in. I like to fill in like 80% and then just run the rest.
Wow.
Because then you get amazing exits and crazy weird things that wouldn't happen. If everything's fully calculated down to the letter and you're over prepared, then it's less exciting for me.
And if something goes wrong, you're kind of thrown off even more because you're expecting a desired
it's
result.
So structured. Right? Yeah. A friend of mine, Sam Carter, who was the one who's like the brainchild for the Capstone Australia project and runs the brand and that sort of thing with Justin Louis and Phil Doyle. He was talking about how some of the more structured athletes, when they fail, it is worse because they're so like technically sound and everything is usually lined up, balanced, structured. So when it goes off the rails, it goes off the rails heavier.
Yeah.
Because they're not as mobile or just limber or generally used to falling over.
Yeah.
Better athletes.
Totally.
Like think about someone like Tim Champion, how structured he is. If he takes a hit, it's going to knock that whole system out of whack.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know that Tim takes many fails or if it does any damage, but the idea of it, of being
100%.
slightly less structured, gives you that freedom to kind of improvise.
Yeah. Have you ever approached a certain skill where you had to walk away for the day because it was too heavy?
Oh, mate, I can just walk away from corks and com gainers for my life, mate. Oh, yeah. I love com gainers, and I think they're just the coolest thing in free running, and I just can't do them very well. I can get them done, but not at like height or not low to the ground or not like Travis or the young generation where they're just like everywhere. Yeah. And then corks as well. No matter how much I spam corks, like I spent all of 2020 spamming corks, still shit.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy.
I just like, there's some movesets that I just haven't quite, I can't swing cast.
No way.
I can't swing cast.
Okay.
Yeah. It's weird. I just,
just in your brain. Yeah.
Yeah. I try to do it and it always just doesn't work. I can worm cast off a wall, but I can't swing cast.
100%. And so obviously, like, I feel like sometimes when someone watches another person do things, it unlocks it from, like, shortly after you Kong fronted IMAX, someone did it like a week later.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, it kind of opens up the doors of possibilities to see what's possible. Do you ever wish that there was people that had opened the doors for you, or how are you able to unlock that door yourself without seeing that it's doable?
I think it's a combination of things. I definitely don't wish the people that unlocked them because I like unlocking stuff. I think it's cool to, it's like you're doing all the heavy lifting yourself. You don't have any data to go from, so you have to do all the input manually. You have to go there, you have to check everything, you have to do all your bits. But at the same time, I like training with people where either of you will break the challenge. Like a lot of the stuff I do with Michael Kadori.
Yes.
We spend a lot of time either like, who's feeling better about this than the other one? Okay, you do it first, and then I'll take your information and send it back. And I really enjoy that, like camaraderie and breaking down a challenge together.
Okay.
I don't know if that quite answers what the question was, but
it
kind of gives a rough idea of like, there's like, for me, breaking the challenge isn't, like if it's not been done, if I just think it's possible, it's fine. That's all I need is to believe that it's a real thing, and then I'll work on it. I'll figure it out.
Sick. No, that makes a lot of sense as far as unlocking challenges and stuff like that. So what do you do to turn off Do you do anything outside of the sport in order to relax your brain and your mind, or are you just constantly thinking about the sport and that's why you're at the level you are?
I feel like I'm very in the moment, so I'm not obsessing about stuff unless I'm like on the way to do it, or it's the day of. I know I'm going to do that. Other than that, I'm just kind of going out and jumping on stuff, and then if something kind of excites me enough, that'll push me to take that to the next level. For the most part, it's just improvising. I prefer to shoot from the hip and go out with no expectation. Because if you go out with heaps of expectation and then you don't do it, or you have like a certain thing set and then you're not right for it that day, it can eat away at you.
Okay.
So the more you can go out with just the idea of enjoying the movement and having fun with it, and then if something really cool happens, that's great.
Okay. Now, you may not have an answer to this question. It's kind of a weird one. But in tricking, we've talked to some people that are like experts in physics, and they tend to think that we're going to hit a maximum capacity of maybe 6 spins at the most. Mm-hmm. Do you think we're ever going to see the maximum potential of the human body in, as far as parkour is concerned? Or do you think we're ever going to get to a point where someone's not going to be able to level up a certain level of a jump or a height?
It's hard to say. I wouldn't say that it's impossible, but I'd say with certain things it's highly unlikely. Like, I mean, with rotations, I don't feel like people are going to be doing more than triple for a very long time. Like triple backflip.
Yeah.
You've seen Ryan Bean out there trying like doing triple backflips and trying like full in double back out and stuff.
Yeah.
That's probably like what I would consider to be the peak level right now, and that's into sand of rotation, and I don't think you could get much further with free running. Okay. Same with height. There's like a certain point of diminishing return. I have the goal to do a 10-meter front flip. That's one of the things on my list, but I have one in Barbican in the UK.
To concrete or to what surface?
To grass.
Shit, okay.
Yeah. But I feel like I don't need to go any higher than that, and I also don't know if people should go higher than that. It's just like, in my experience, they get more and more dangerous the higher you go. So I don't know, like, and also like physical distance of jump. A lot of the younger guys, I think they're doing the biggest jumps that have ever been done in the world. It's like, you remember Misha Todorovic?
Yes, correct. Yeah. Good question.
Yeah, there's like, it's just, there's so much stuff that's been done, and the size of jumps doesn't really get much bigger than stuff that has previously been done. Yeah. It's there's a lot of stuff, like the standard now or the general level is way higher, but in the upper echelons of the sport, it's very difficult to know what these maximums are, because they're all obstacle and variation location related. They're not like your simple like, okay, here's a pit, how far can you jump?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. But also like we don't have like a record book. We don't have like a biggest cat pass, longest cat pass. I don't know, like, so it's just all subjective really. And then size of human with parkour comes into play as well, because agreed. Something that Remy Gerard does that looks ginormous would look silly on Joel Eggerman.
Yeah, 100%.
Just different animal.
100%. And now, obviously, we've talked about the pressure within, from competition to just within your own mindset as far as like accomplishing bigger tricks and stuff like that. What's it like having such a massive platform in the sport and obviously being recognized in so many areas within parkour, but even outside of it? I was on a commercial 6 months ago, and this lady saw that we were stunt guys and was like, "Do you know this guy named Dom Tomato? My son watches him on YouTube." And I'm like, that's fucking awesome that he's like an ambassador now for people that aren't even in the sport necessarily, you know?
Yeah, I think I'm very humbled and appreciative of everyone that supports me and does follow me or knows of my work, because I'm just jumping on stuff, just like you guys. I'm just jumping on things, just a parkour guy. But it is really cool to, as you said, kind of now be an advocate for the sport globally. And so I think the only pressure I feel at all is to try and provocate the truisms of the sport and the culture and the community to the wider audience, because a lot of what they see in mainstream media is just, either the roof gaps in the viral videos or like in film and TV. Often parkour people are perceived as the bad guys or the robbers or something. And it's like, no parkour people I know would like that I know personally would steal stuff from you. Yeah. They're just not that way inclined. Our industry would breed out that sort of person. Totally. So I guess that's my guiding star now is with the platform I have, is to create like happiness, support for following your passion, and also like the truisms of the sport and the culture. A lot of people are like, why don't you do stunts? I'm like, because I'm being a parkour athlete. I'm setting that tone so that other people can follow and be parkour athletes full time. If none of us do it and all go to stunts, then where does the sport go?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm not anti-stunts. I think it's a fantastic avenue for people to pursue.
Totally, yeah.
I have to commit to this cultural staple and be that guy if I want to provocate what I'm trying to sell, which is go out and do parkour with your friends.
100%. And so obviously everyone sees the jumps you do. They see the jumps that Kadori does. And the obvious comment online for non-practitioners is, yeah, we'll wait to see what their knees are like in 20 years from now.
Yep.
How's your body holding up overall in general? And how long do you think you'll be able to train for?
My body in general is holding up pretty good. I don't have any like long-lasting injuries that I am aware of. Stuff is all just like working back to full strength. My comment back to those people is subscribe, because then you'll know. You know what I mean? Follow me, and then you'll figure out in 20 years when I'm still posting if we've made it or not.
Yeah.
But yeah, I plan to be hitting it as heavy as I'm hitting it now for the next 10 years.
Okay.
So at least till I'm 40, then I'll reevaluate. But I also want to do like a 5-meter front flip when I'm 50.
Wow.
And then ideally still training when I'm in my 80s. Just training though, not like hitting it heavy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just going out, doing movement, balancing, like really basic stuff that's just good for your human body. Jumping over a wall, climbing up onto something, getting down, doing a roll, like those sorts of things. I think if you can stay consistent with it, those are real possibilities.
Okay.
I've kind of committed so far that now if I stop moving, my body's definitely going to fall apart. But as long as I keep going and keep actually keeping it in check, everything works really well.
All right. So one of the last questions, two-parter. What advice would you have for a young kid that's listening that wants to get into the sport? And then what advice would you have for a kid that's maybe at that upper echelon right now and feels that they're kind of like, for lack of a better term, plateauing and trying to like break through?
I think for anyone who's starting the sport, what you need to understand is that this industry is not a large organism. If you do it, just get into it for the love of the movement and really get your own journey going with the sport. Really learn to love your progression and, you know, the support that comes from others around the sport. That way, no matter what happens, positive or negative, you've always got the parkour. You know what I mean? So keep it really core fundamentals. Get into the journey and the little like ritual of your own parkour training and get infatuated with that more than making videos, filming clips, blah, blah, because the movement itself is the thing that matters.
Yeah.
And then for those who are, if they're plateauing at they're at a high level or they've progressed really quickly and then find themselves plateauing, is patience. Like anyone, even the guys who have just started as well, the same thing I would say is patience. This sport takes a while to get good at, and even then it's so broad in its spectrum that you won't be able to cover every facet in immediate, like, you know, a couple of years. And if you're plateauing, try changing your spectrum. Interestingly enough, Michael Kadori and I had a conversation just before I left Sydney about he was finding that he was plateauing in his joy and mindset from training, and we decided that probably the best course of action was to completely change the spectrum. You'll see right now, he changed the spectrum so hard, he was doing a bunch of corks and then like hurt his hip because he's just been doing twists. Like, you know, he's got to like take it easy. But like, it's that sort of thing, and he seems to be loving it now because it's a new facet. There's so many avenues you can pursue in parkour, and if you get trapped into one style or one thing that's making you happy, then you'll feel like you're plateauing. Yeah. If you go out and you work on bridges and you can't do a bridge, and then 3 days later you can do a bridge, you're going to feel progression. It's like, it doesn't even have to be a big jump. It doesn't have to be size. Go and work on the multitudes and the smaller parts of it. You really just reinvent the way that you think about moving.
And what advice would you have for someone that wants to make a career off this sport at the infancy that we're in right now with it?
The same thing as I say to the people at the beginning, make sure you're doing it for love, because if you don't love parkour and you're trying to make a career in it, then it's not going to last. It's one of those things that won't offer immediately back to you what you're giving in blood, sweat and tears wise. But if you are trying to make a career, think about new and expansive ways for you to monetize your jumps, your content, your media. It's not just the ways that the athletes in front of you have done it. There is so many other opportunities and ways to create and make a substantial living from this sport. So the more you can broaden the horizons, the more we're all going to have equal opportunity to kind of benefit.
Hell yeah. And so obviously you've talked about what you want to achieve when you're 40 and 80 and stuff like that. But this is, as you know, from watching a question I ask everyone, where do you see yourself 5 years from now? And then where do you see yourself 10 years from now?
5 years from now, probably doing exactly what I'm doing, hopefully with a baby. And then 10 years from now, same thing. I'm kind of set in this lifestyle of traveling around, meeting people, jumping and shooting videos. That's what brings me joy. So I just plan to kind of do the same thing and hopefully progress and grow in life and all the other facets of not only health but industry as well. So I can then either myself be paying more athletes to do the sport or just in general having more athletes with professional positions in the sport. That's a big motivation of mine recently.
Hell yeah. Well, dude, more than anything, I really appreciate you not only making the time to come out on a vacation, so to speak. I know you got a lot of stuff to do, but dude, I really appreciate everything you're doing for the sport. You know, one of the big criticisms I had is ever since Danny, we really haven't had a voice for the sport. And now we're starting to get individuals like yourself that have a massive platform that can reach such a wide audience beyond just the community itself. And to hear someone that's as well spoken as yourself and has such a desire to like spread the gospel of parkour, it's something that we really need, man. And I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, man. I figure like some of us need to commit, right? Like if none of us commit on that ground floor and really go hard at like committing to the sport's growth, then it won't grow. So I'm happy to like lay myself on the tracks for other people to walk over as long as we can get the sport blossoming and you know, the leg up for everybody.
Takes one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Well, dude, before we get out of here, I'm sure everyone already knows it, but can you just look in this camera and tell people where they can continue to follow you, stay up to date with your journey?
All right, so we got videos weekends and Wednesdays on the Dom Tomato YouTube channel, posting almost every day on Instagram. I'm trying to break that habit, so at Dom Tomato. And then also, if you're really dedicated, you can check out my Patreon page, same name, Dom Tomato. I would really appreciate your support there.
Hell yes. Guys, with that being said, please be sure to hit that like button, comment, subscribe for brand new episodes each and every week. Join us every Monday for Jam Breakdowns and every Friday for a brand new Jamcast, interviewing influential members of the Moon community like Mr. Dom Tomato himself. So that being said, guys, got one more very special shout out. Thanks for coming through, Dom. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me, man. It's an absolute honor.
Hell yes. And as always, guys, coming through, I'm your host, Travis Wong. Thanks for joining us here in another Jamcast. Until next time,
doing it the Wong way.
Peace.
The Wong way, baby.